vote, you're a relevant and vibrant part of the Parliament. Would you agree that that was a huge achievement for the group you're involved in?
Ian, I think from being scoffed at and laughed at when I was first elected in 1999, I remember taking the oath to the Crown under protest with a clenched fist. I remember specifically saying that I was swearing to keep allegiance to the Crown, and you're supposed to say in all her lieges, and I managed to say her leeches and got away with it because I was so angry that here's somebody who is a Republican, who believes in democracy, who doesn't believe in any unelected monarchy. First thing I'm going to have to do when it's Scottish Parliament is lie. All these MSPs that have been elected on the basis of integrity, of honesty, of representing their constituents, first thing you need to do is lie. Swear an oath to somebody that you've got no oath to. It's just ridiculous, it's stupid, and it's one of the things that certainly I'm hoping to change if I'm elected to the next Scottish Parliament. I want an oath to the people instead of an oath to an unelected Crown. By the way, you can have a choice. Let's keep the oath to the Crown. Anybody wants to take the oath to the Crown, let them take the oath to the Crown. I want an oath to the people. There's got to be a change there. We investigated in '99. Can we take a seat and not take the oath? And the answer was no. Under the Scotland Act, a modern Scotland Act, you had to swear an allegiance to an elected Crown. That Scotland Act, by the way, was drawn up in 1997. 1997, and they wrote into the Scotland Act, you have to swear an allegiance to an unelected monarch. How anachronistic is that? Complete and utter nonsense, completely out of accord with a modern democracy. I want a democracy and accountability bill introduced if I'm elected next year. I want recall of MSPs on the basis of 5% signing a petition, 5% of constituents. You can recall an MSP if they ever break a promise, if they ever break a commitment, you can recall them. I want workers, MPs on what average wage a skilled worker. I want MSPs to be given a job description so that they have to have regular surgeries and they have to take up their constituents' complaints, and if they don't, they can be recalled. And I want a new oath, an oath to the people of Scotland. Any of the old Tories, if they're ever elected again, if they're ever elected and they want to swear to the Crown, let them do it, but we should be swearing an oath to the people. So from my point of view, 1999, I think we were almost like the Circus Act, you know. The media like to run wee stories about us to mock us, really, you know. Was that? But then, of course, abolition of pindens and warranty with Bill 2000. Then I introduced a new bill for free, healthy, universal school meals. Finland did it, managed to tackle their horrible coronary heart disease problem, managed to tackle diabetes, managed to improve the life expectancy of the population. Why could Scotland not do it? And people used to laugh and scoff. We would get beat. The Labour Party voted against free and universal school meals. The Liberal Party, Lib Dems, who supported it in England last year, voted against it in 2002 Scottish Parliament, and the Tories voted against it. You expect the Tories to vote against it. So by 2003, I think it was clear that not only did we have a set of ideas, but we had a set of ideas that people were listening to. People were actually buying into, that the credibility of these ideas had increased. Point you made there, I was the leader of the SSP in 2003, and my direct opposite was John Swinney, who was the leader of the SNP, and I used to debate with him, TV debates and everything else, and quite clearly we were winning the allegiance of a lot of SNP supporters who saw in us not just independence but radical independence, a new Scotland, a better Scotland was possible. And in Glasgow we almost matched the SNP in terms of the number of votes, managed to get 2 MSPs elected, managed in Scotland to get 6 elected, and I think quite clearly it was the high point electorally
Yeah.
for socialists.
I mean, you can see it as the high point because since then things haven't gone quite so well electorally for socialists in Scotland.
Well, we had an incredibly messy situation that developed in 2004.
Of course.
And it's a long and complicated story. I obviously would tell my side of the story, and others would tell a different side to the story. I think the full story's not been told yet. I'm very, very confident in the fullness of time we will find that just as they did during the miners' strike, and anybody that wants to read Seamus Millen's book, The Enemy Within, will find out that Roger Windsor, who became the General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers, was working for Special Branch. Seamus Millen detailed that and documented that. I'm quite confident in the fullness of time we'll find out that some of those who were involved in causing the discord within the SSP were fighting for a different side and for a different cause, because a party that was beginning to get a lot of influence and a lot of support on the basis of nationalisation, public ownership, redistribution of wealth was dangerous. It was dangerous, and it had to be divided. And clearly what developed was a very, very serious divide. I believe people betrayed me. I believe people lied about me. I believe people deliberately distorted stories in order to create a situation which resulted in a couple of court cases.
The first one of those is a libel action that you chose to raise.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. There was an agreement within the SSP. A trade-off, Ian. I was the convener of the SSP at the time, and many people thought, no, don't take a libel action, Tommy. It's not the natural territory for socialists. It's the wrong thing to do. Don't do it.
It's a story that could well have gone away.
No doubt about this. It's not only a story that gone away, it's a story from a protagonist who has since recanted. Fiona Maguire's went on record and told the world that she lied. She told a pack of lies. She's told the police that she lied. The police have said that they're not going to charge her with perjury because it's not in the public interest to charge her with perjury. But she was able to be paid a considerable sum of money by the News of the World to tell lies over 2 weeks in a row in the News of the World. And there's no doubt that that story could have probably gone away. But you know what, Ian, see when you're being bullied, my natural instinct to bullies is to stand up to them. I don't like walking away from bullies, because if you walk away from a bully, they'll bully somebody else, and somebody's got to make a stand. I had an argument within my party, and we had a trade-off that I shouldn't take that court action as the convener of the Scottish Socialist Party, so I stood down and took that action as an MSP and as an individual who wasn't leading the SSP. Incredibly, that arrangement was reneged on, and people turned on me within the SSP. Not all of them, the overwhelming majority of the rank and file didn't, but the executive and the nomenclature, those who were being paid and who were liaison regularly with the News of the World, turned on us, and that deal was withdrawn, unbeknown to me. We've now got the documentation, we've now got the emails, we've now got the communications that show that they were in league with the News of the World, they were in league with the Ewan McCombs of the world, they were in league with the Paul Hutchins, who was in league with the Ewan McCombs. So we know that's there. We've got the Bob Bird emails, we've got the Andy Coulson emails. That will all come out in the fullness of time. I'd hoped it would come out in the recent court case that Andy Coulson was involved in, but we see that the Crown managed spectacularly to deliberately undermine that because they were frightened of what was going to come out, because the whole Crown case against me was built on the foundations of the News of the World. The News of the World provided them with all of the statements, with all of the evidence, with all of the evidence that was used against me. That was fruit from a poison tree. That was fruit from a criminal organisation. And the Crown Office knows that when that comes out in court, there's going to have to be people being sacked. There's going to have to be resignations within the Crown Office. So they had to do their damnedest to make sure that the Coulson prosecution was undermined, which is what they've done. I mean, we've went on record now. We've called the leading police officers of Operation Median liars. We've called the Crown Office liars. Why is there no action? You know, why? There's libel laws in this country. You're not supposed to call people liars unless you can back it up. Why have they not taken any action?
Who knows? I'm not in a position to answer.
Of course you're not, Ian. It was a rhetorical question.
This case, though, the target of this, although you might say in a roundabout way it was the party, it was you personally who was targeted in the particular articles. But probably as a result of the furore, the court cases, the drama that followed, there was a massive fall in support for the Socialist Party and for socialism in terms of who people were voting for in elections. And that's led obviously to a lot of people who relied on the socialist politics not being represented in the last couple of Scottish parliaments. Do you regret that that's how things worked out?
Do you regret that there was less people voting socialist? Of course you do. Ian. That goes without saying. But do you know what? It's actually lazy journalism and it's lazy research. And I've read it and I've heard it. People saying, oh, the court case of 2006 led to the electoral disaster of 2007. The SSP went from 6 MSPs to no MSPs. That was all because of the court case. That was all because of the internal wrangling. That was all because of Tommy Sheridan. And then you say to yourself, what happened to the Green Party?
Well, that's an obvious question. They
What
also
happened
went
to
from 6, didn't they?
No, they went from 7 to 2. Right? No wrangles, no court case, no big fallout. And the truth of the matter is, if you look at the figures, if you add Solidarity's election figures, because Solidarity stood in the 2007 Scottish election, Solidarity's votes across Scotland was 3 times higher than the SSP vote. Solidarity's vote in Glasgow was 4 times higher than the SSP vote. So Solidarity still managed to gather the largest socialist vote in Scotland. Add Solidarity's vote to the SSP's vote in 2007, and how many MSPs would we have got across Scotland? 1. That's how many we would have got at Glasgow. I lost Glasgow by less than 1%. That was the electoral arithmetic. The Greens went from 7, and by all means didn't they suffer any of the wrangles that we're talking about. They went from 7 to 2. Why? Because the 2007 election wasn't about the internal wranglings of the SSP. It was about a polarised election where people knew that their votes were precious. The SNP actually, incredibly, had a chance of winning a Scottish election. And people, particularly those SNP supporters who in their heart of hearts believe in socialism and want an independent socialist Scotland, they thought to themselves, well, wait a wee minute, we're not going to get there immediately. First of all, we need independence. The best way to get independence is to vote SNP. People's votes were absolutely precious in 2007. It was a hugely polarised election. People voted, they returned to the fold and voted SNP, and a lot of Labour voters voted SNP. And what happened? I remember Bernard Ponsonby speaking to me outside the STV studios on the Clyde, and he said to me, Tommy, you must be upset you've lost your seat in Glasgow. And I said, Bernard, yes, I'm personally upset, but politically I'm pleased. Scotland's moved to the left. There's the irony. The Socialists have lost all their seats, but Scotland's moved to the left. Why? Because the SNP fought the 2007 election, abolished the council tax, replaced it with income tax, opposition to the war, opposition to Trident, opposition to private finance initiative. They fought the 2007 election on a left of centre political programme. They actually stole the clothes of the old Labour Party. The Labour Party was the right of centre political party in that election. And yet of course it's then developed since then, Ian, but that was the first election where you can really say to yourself, this wasn't the Swinney of 2003, this was a much more left of centre election that the SNP fought. I believe, personally, the SNP looked at what was happening to their vote. They looked at how it was melting away to the SSP. They looked at how there was room for a left of centre party, and they decided, hey, never mind all the right-wing policies, let's occupy the ground, let's wear the clays that the Labour Party have discarded, let's put them on, because there's electoral support there. 2007, think about it. The SNP won, okay, a minority, but they became the minority government of Scotland. Who would have thought that would have happened? You used to weigh the votes for Labour in Scotland. So from my point of view, I was personally very disappointed, lost my seat. But politically, you've got to say, hey, wait a wee minute, SNP were anti-war, SNP anti-Trident, SNP anti-PFI, SNP calling for replacement of the council tax with an income tax. A policy, by the way, that they've since reneged on. SNP supported free school meals. All of these policies were left of centre policies, and they won an election on it. What does that show you? That shows you that there is a rich vein of support for radical left policies. So far, the SNP have been the main beneficiaries of that. I believe next year you're going to see, yes, the SNP winning the first past the post contest. I think they will probably win all 72 first past the post. But what the SNP voters have to understand is if they give both their votes to the SNP, they're not going to help the independence cause. They're going to help the unionist parties. They're going to vote for MSPs from the Labour Party, from the Tory Party, from the Liberal Party. But because of the electoral system, because of the way the DeHont system works, if the SNP supporters give both their votes to SNP, their second vote's a wasted vote. If they really want a pro-independence Holyrood, they're going to have to what? They're going to have to vote for one of the pro-independence parties. Now, I'm going to ask them to vote for Solidarity. Of course I am. I'm the co-convener. I'm asking, please vote Solidarity. But if they're not going to vote Solidarity, please vote for one of the other pro-independence, anti-austerity parties. Don't give both your votes to the SNP. Give your first vote to the SNP. Solidarity is clearly saying, constituency, white ballot paper, vote SNP. Second vote, peach ballot paper, vote Solidarity or one of the other pro-independence parties. Let's make Holyrood next year a pro-independence parliament.
Where does Solidarity and the SSP differ in policy?
I'm not sure. I've not looked at the SSP's manifesto. I'm not sure what they're going to fight on, Ian. We're certainly going to be fighting on the Democracy Accountability Bill that I talked about earlier. We're going to be fighting on a programme that demands, instead of compliance with austerity, that we defy austerity, that our local authorities and our Scottish Parliament have to understand that the Scottish people never voted for cuts. They voted for investment. They voted for public services. That means councils up and down the country, the 32 local authorities in Scotland, have to look at the needs of the people, not the cuts, the needs of the people. They need to set needs budgets, not cuts budgets. That's what has to be implemented. We are also going to be standing for service tax bill, which I introduced in the Scottish Parliament. I'm going to reintroduce that so that instead of a council tax, which is inherently unfair and taxes the poor much more than the rich, I want to see the rich paying more for local services and the poor and the pensioners paying less. I want to see a health service that isn't reliant on a privately owned pharmaceutical industry. I want a health service